Ahead on Face the State, it's an Ohio city in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats.
If I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
You just said that you're creating the story.
I say that we're creating a story, meaning we're creating the American media focusing on it.
The continued threat of violence in the city of Springfield. 33 threats, all determined to be a hoax.
Now, this is the 5th day in a row that businesses and public offices have received threats in the Springfield area.
We did not have threats 7 days ago. We did not have these concerns 7 days ago. We'd like those that on the national stage that can bring peace, that could tamper their words and speak truth. That's what Springfield is asking. We need peace, we need help, not hate.
And that help is being coordinated by Ohio's Director of Public Safety. We're in Springfield this morning hearing from the director himself about what's being done right now and what will be done going into the future. Face the State starts right now. From navigating a large influx of Haitian immigrants in recent years to now debunking false claims about migrants harming pets, the city of Springfield is facing several challenges, but the biggest is keeping everyone safe. Schools, hospitals, and city buildings are facing threats, and the state is pouring in resources to help. Thanks for joining us for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. We made the one-hour drive west to Springfield to get answers about how they're keeping people safe. That's why I sat down here at City Hall with the man overseeing the state efforts, Ohio Department of Public Safety Director Andy Wilson. Director, you've been here for several days now. How would you describe the situation today here in Springfield?
Well, today, again, you can feel the temperature coming down a little bit. Obviously, late last week and early this week, it was frenetic. There was a lot of rhetoric. There still are a lot of those issues, but we've been able to surge in a lot of our public safety resources. You saw we put troopers at the school. We've brought in people to help with bomb sweeps. So we are doing a lot of work in that space, which I think is addressing some of the concerns of the folks who live here with respect to their safety. Everybody, when the rhetoric kind of ramped up, everybody was really concerned about the safety of the people who live here, who work here, and who visit here. So we wanted to make sure that we address that. As we address that, again, it feels like we're kind of starting to get back to what the real issues are with respect to the situation.
And you mentioned the troopers. I believe there are 36 at the 18 different schools doing sweeps, extra patrols. We see the watchtower outside City Hall. Has it made a difference in the few days that has been set up?
So right before I came to this interview, I was at a school with the governor. And the number one thing, the first thing that came out of that principal's mouth, the governor asked, he said, "Hey, how are things going? How are you doing?" And that principal said, "We are doing much better now." He said, "Since these troopers have been here, my staff, my students, the families who send their kids to school here, everybody feels better." And I get these stories again and again from those troopers being out front of parents pulling down their window, maybe slowing down the drop-off lines a little bit, just to thank the troopers for being there, for helping to keep the staff and the students safe. And I'm from Springfield. I know a lot of folks who are teachers. I've been getting texts and calls of people who are just so thankful and so appreciative of what the governor has done with respect to keeping the schools and really everything safe. It's not just the troopers. We have surged in over the weekend. We really did a full court press from the Department of Public Safety. So we have folks from the Office of Homeland Security who are here, BMV Investigations who are here, the Ohio Investigative Unit folks are here. We've got, again, bomb-sniffing dog teams from the State Fire Marshal, the ATF. Everybody has kind of come together to work as a team to keep everybody safe. And I got to tell you, the men and women of the Springfield Police Division they should be applauded. They are stretched so thin. They have their regular job of just keeping people safe on the streets, responding to calls, and fighting crime in the city. And now their resources have been stretched even more thin with the public safety.
I was going to ask you, how strained are the local resources?
They are very strange. So again, we are in here. We're not the state police. We're the State Highway Patrol. And all of the assets we've brought to bear here in Springfield have been at the request of the city manager, the city public safety director, and the city police department. They need to, again, respond to calls. They need to keep people safe just in their normal course of duties. So they said, look, we just don't have enough people. So we've leveraged the sheriff's office. We've leveraged neighboring jurisdictions. So it's a full court press.
What are you focusing on? You know, these day-to-day trips to Springfield, what are you focusing on?
So the number one thing that we have been focusing on is the public safety aspect. So making sure that our buildings, that our facilities, that our schools, that our businesses are safe, and then making sure that people understand and feel safe, because those are two things that have to be addressed. You can make a building safe, but if people still don't feel safe going into that building, then they're not going to go, or they're going to be scared, or there's going to be anxiety attached to that. So it's twofold. It's making people safe, and then again getting the messaging out that you are safe. Now, in addition to that, we've been addressing the other issues, the real issues. Again, there's nobody eating pets here. There's none of that rhetoric, but there are real issues associated with this immigration issue here. It has put an incredible strain on the local government. It's put incredible strain on the hospitals. There are issues that you've heard the governor talk about again and again that we have to address. From a public safety point of view, other than again keeping people safe in the immediate sense of with respect to everything that's going on. Look, the Haitians who have come here, they're not criminals. They're not violent criminals. It's not, the Venezuelans who have come across. I was at the border last year. The Venezuelans who have come into communities, a lot of the Venezuelan folks are actually security threats. They come from a gang. They came from the prisons. They came across the border into our communities. That's not what you have here. The Haitian community that's here, they're not criminals. And if you ask, we haven't seen a spike in crime since the Haitians came to Springfield. But from a public safety point of view, what you do see is they're just not good drivers. They're not good drivers. There's been a lot of crashes. Obviously, there was the tragic fatal crash, but that actually, we haven't had a lot of fatalities with respect to the Haitian drivers. That was kind of an anomaly. But you have seen a lot of fender benders. You've seen a lot of property damage in those crashes, and we have to address that. Everybody agrees that both the Haitian drivers and the citizens of Springfield, people who are driving through Springfield, we need to be safe on our roads. So we're looking at that. We're looking at how we can better train the Haitian drivers, the people who are getting licenses, how we can better train them to be good drivers. And if you look at it, again, the governor said this multiple times, if you look at, they come from a country where very few people have cars, and those who do have cars have no driver's training at all. And not only that, but they come from a country where there's really not driving rules. It's pretty much anything goes.
The city received at least 33 different bomb threats, according to the governor. Do you have any more information on where those are coming from?
So, yes, but I'm not going to tell you. We're working with the FBI, and we're just not going to tell you what countries those are coming from. It's an ongoing investigation that's being handled by the FBI. It's been more than 33 now, and that seems to be what we've been dealing with, and what we've tried to do using our resources from the Office of Homeland Security, from the State Highway Patrol, from the rest of public safety, working again with local officials as well. We're trying to develop a response again with the FBI and the ATF, where when we see the threat come in, we recognize where it's coming from. And we're able to triage that threat, at the same time taking every threat serious and responding quickly so that we don't have a disruption in services. So the reason, again, I've seen this in other crises. The reason bad foreign actors do this is they sit over in their country and they watch for communities where there are struggles, and they look for little pressure points to sow discord, to create disruptions in services, and that's what you're seeing. So what we need to do is we need to develop a response that's fast and reflexive, or flexible in a way that minimizes the disruption of services. So again, you saw the governor do it. The schools were getting bombarded, so we put the troopers in. We have these room clearing teams. We have these bomb sniffing dogs that are now going out and proactively searching areas. We have these Homeland Security towers. And I'll give you an example. This happened earlier in the week. We have a Homeland Security tower on a piece of infrastructure. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but a piece of critical infrastructure, and it's watching. We got a bomb threat, in the morning, that, hey, I placed a bomb at this place, and we know right away because we have that camera on it all night. Nobody came in and placed a bomb. It was clear the day before. No. So we're being very flexible. We're using all of our resources to minimize the disruption in services and minimize the discord that these bad foreign actors are trying to sow.
Former President Trump said he's planning to come to Springfield. What's your reaction to that?
Well, you've heard the governor say multiple times, it is campaign season. The candidates have the right and really kind of the obligation to campaign wherever they want to campaign, wherever they think they need to campaign. Part of the campaign is discussing legitimate issues that are part of whatever their platform is. Clearly, the border and the issues at the border are an issue that need to be vetted through this campaign process. And clearly, again, you're seeing what happens when there are problems with your border issue. You're seeing it right here in Clark County. So clearly, any candidate can come talk about whatever they want. Now, that being said, keep in mind, we're stretched pretty thin here right now. From a pure public safety, our number one mission is to keep the people in this community safe. And the Springfield Police Division, they're stretched thin. The Clark County Sheriff's Office, they're stretched thin. The State Highway Patrol, we have so many assets in here. We are getting to capacity. We're starting to beg and borrow from other agencies. So anything that happens will put a strain on those resources. That being said, we will adjust. That's what we do.
Now, he was one of the ones that was perpetuating the false claims about the migrants here. Do you think it would be a better idea for him to stay away?
Look, again, I'll tell you what the same thing the governor said. Anybody can come, any candidate can come campaign on any issue that they think is important. And immigration is an issue that at the federal level that they need to debate. They need to debate what the issues really are with respect to the truth about immigration and the problems that they're causing. So yes, I mean the candidates are free to come and that's the great thing about America. That's the great thing about America. You come and put your issues out in the marketplace of ideas and let them be debated however you can debate them. It will be a strain. It'll be a strain on the community, but it's not an impossible strain for us to overcome from a public safety point of view.
Mayor Rue just issued a proclamation in light of the threats directed towards city employees and residents. Basically gives the mayor some temporary powers to basically cut red tape and be able to acquire resources faster. How helpful do you see that being in this overall effort as things play out?
Right. And when you have a crisis going on or when you have an issue that you have to address in your community, anything you can do to make the response more efficient is a good thing. That's why I'm here. The governor understands in these situations the value of having a cabinet member on the ground, shoulder to shoulder with the local officials, kind of working through what those issues are. There's a couple benefits to that. Number one, it cuts down on inefficiencies. It allows everybody to communicate the same way with each other. We don't have to play the telephone game. I'm in the room with the mayor. I'm in the room with the police chief as they're talking about these different issues. So it increases the efficiency in which we communicate. And it also, again, the governor understands that having a cabinet member on the ground allows us to more quickly bring resources to bear. And again, that's probably what you see in Mayor Rue's proclamation. It's important to be able to be very responsive. And if you get jammed up in red tape or you can't address an issue that needs immediate addressing, that becomes a problem. So again, there's a lot of benefits to kind of removing some of that red tape, to working together to efficiently address these issues, again, for the folks who live in the community.
How long will the state be here?
You know, we're going to be here. This is going to be a long-term problem. So there's short-term issues that we have to take a look at. There are medium-range issues that we need to resolve, and ultimately there are some long-term solutions that I think you'll see the governor to put into the community. So I can't give you a timeline, but if you've seen anything out of Governor DeWine, when he's committed to an area or when he's committed to an issue, he sees it through, and he'll make sure that we're here addressing the issues, working with the locals to address their issues until the situation is resolved.
Our coverage of Springfield doesn't end here. You can always get the latest on air and online at 10tv.com. Coming up on Face the State, we head back into the studio as controversy continues to surround what's going to be on your ballot. Ahead, why some are saying what you'll see this November is still misleading to sway your vote, even after an Ohio Supreme Court ruling. Plus, fast growth can create great opportunities for cities, but it can also create problems. Later, the warnings from one booming city hundreds of miles away to make sure Central Ohio's growth doesn't become a regret.
When coaches don't play by the rules, we call it cheating.
In the Michigan sign-stealing scandal, Jim Harbaugh can't coach in the game.
When politicians do it, it's called gerrymandering, and it's just as bad.
The first political ads over Issue 1 are now hitting TV screens across Ohio. It comes as ballots are now going out with military and overseas absentee voting getting underway. And those ballots did not have finalized language for Issue 1 until just days ago. That's because of a lawsuit filed against the Ohio Ballot Board by the group behind Issue 1. They claim the language was biased and misleading in an attempt to sway voters at the ballot box. The Ohio Supreme Court ruled 2 changes were needed to the language, but now some are saying the updated language is still misleading.
We didn't get it right the first time. That's why there was a lawsuit.
State Senator Paula Hicks Hudson is one of 2 Democrats on the state ballot board who objected to the ballot language the Republican majority ultimately approved. Citizens Not Politicians collected more than 500,000 valid voter signatures to get the measure on the ballot. They say it aims to end political gerrymandering in the state's map drawing system. They and their supporters take issue with the approved ballot language that says the new commission would be required to gerrymander the legislative and congressional district lines.
Now, this was done, and it was created for the main purpose of hoodwinking the voters.
Republican State Senator Teresa Gavarone said the Supreme Court found the language accurately describes the amendment.
To say that this misleads people is simply untrue.
The amendment would replace the current redistricting commission made up of 7 elected leaders with a 15-member citizen commission made up of 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and 5 independents. No politicians or lobbyists could serve on the commission.
What's really important to note is that the substance of this amendment is not affected by the disingenuous attempt by politicians to rig the election on Issue 1.
While Democrats pushed for more changes to the language, Secretary of State Frank LaRose said time is of the essence.
The next 48 hours, we will actually be in violation of federal law, subjecting ourselves to a DOJ lawsuit, et cetera, and that's not something that we can risk.
After that ballot board meeting, Secretary LaRose and the other Republicans on the board did not meet with reporters to answer questions. Military and overseas absentee ballots are now rolling out, and early voting for everyone else in Ohio starts October 8th. Plus, don't forget the deadline to register to vote is October 7th. Then Election Day is November 5th. The explosive growth of Central Ohio will affect just about every part of our lives. We'll show you how and the possible solutions next. It's no secret our community is growing at a fast pace, but now Central Ohio leaders are scrambling to make sure Columbus doesn't fall victim to the same mistakes seen in other so-called boom towns. So 10 TV's Angela Ann flew 1,200 miles to Austin, Texas. Here's why.
Austin and Columbus, both state capitals with rivers running through them. Both similar in population size and booming with development. They have Dell and Samsung. We have Intel, Microsoft, Amazon, and more.
The transformation here in the last quarter century has been, it's jaw-dropping.
The comparison today to Austin is no mistake. In fact, it's been on the radar for Columbus leaders for decades.
The diversity of the economy. About 20 years ago, our community leaders took a trip. We went to Austin, Texas. We wanted to meet with the executives from Dell. We wanted to see what it was to have a tech-based community.
But since then, Austin city leaders admittedly made some errors.
I do think that if we had been able to get to the place we are at today with home and the changes to the land development code, if we had been able to do that 5 to 8 years ago, we would be ahead of the game.
10 TV's recent trip to Austin uncovered ways Central Ohio leaders can avoid the same pitfalls. But some people here say we're already there.
We're building currently probably about half as much housing every year as we need just to keep pace with our growth.
Boomtown on 10 TV also found solutions where cities around Austin are making sure they don't get swallowed up by that growth.
I'm not sure what Columbus has, but a lot of our water and wastewater piping is ancient. So rooftops can't pay for those improvements. We have to get industry in here to pay for those improvements.
Each idea, each decision critical from Austin to Columbus to stay ahead of the boom.
Could conceivably become the largest economic development in the history of the United States.
And we have Angela Ann joining us now in studio this morning to tell us more about Boomtown and what she's uncovered. So, Angela, what is your biggest takeaway?
I think the one thing we heard was don't ignore it. It's going to come. You can't stop the growth, so embrace it. And a lot of city leaders in Austin said, if you have that attitude and mentality, then you can plan ahead as the growth comes, as opposed to planning with it while it's there.
You know, a big question that some smaller towns or smaller cities might have is how do you keep the charm as this explosive growth happens? What did you find out about the secret to that?
A lot of secrets. It was kind of neat, though, because, you think about our towns here. We have so many cities and towns that the charm is what people love, right? The small mom and pop stores and just all the things that make each town so unique. So down there, one town, Taylor, Texas, they're dealing with Samsung, building something much like Intel. And what they're doing is they're making sure that they reinvest back in some of those older buildings, the downtown areas. If they need a refresher on the facade of their building, the city will invest in that rather than putting that onus on the small business owners because they're already dealing with so much. So that is just some of the ways that they're keeping that small town charm. And also walkability. That is so huge when it comes to being able to just talk to your neighbors as you walk from the coffee shop to the florist to the little pocket boutique hotel down the street. And that walkability is something that we're seeing from town to town in keeping that charm.
So what is going to be the overall focus of Boomtown, that we are going to be doing these stories and looking into this issue over the coming weeks and months?
Well, we know that we're already facing a lot of challenges here in Central Ohio. Housing is such a huge issue, and it's a fact. We are already behind when it comes to building enough affordable housing. So that is one aspect that not only are we looking at what other cities did to combat that, but what are the solutions? What are our city leaders and county leaders and state leaders doing to make sure that people, one, aren't getting priced out of where they want to live, families aren't having to combine household incomes just to survive, and then what can we do to make sure that as new people come in, that we're building the housing appropriately? And what that means is changing zoning laws. We saw Columbus do that. And it allows the city to build more dense housing in smaller areas.
And we're hearing from a whole vast array of voices throughout Boomtown as well.
It's exciting.
Angela, thank you so much. And that'll do it for us today. Thank you so much for joining me this week for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. We will see you back here next Sunday at 11:30. Have a great day.